Are you totally different when it comes to sex and copulation? Have you judged yourself out of receiving pleasure? Have you judged yourself into receiving pleasure in certain ways and excluded other ways? Would you like to know more about what else is possible with bodies? Would you like to create confidence in the bedroom and beyond? How has your sex life or lack of it affected other areas of your life? Everyone has the potency to be a sexual superhero. Get ready to listen, sense, and play with the sexualness that is you. Now, here is the host of The Pleasure Zone, pleasure diva and body whisperer, Milica Jelenic.
Well, good evening. Good evening. What is that? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Pleasure Zone. I'm your host, Milica Jelenic. And tonight we're going to be becoming friends with our genitals, right? Because we can. And I just want to welcome all of you and say happy second show of 2018 and welcome to the second week. I was actually reading an article the other day that said that January 7th is well, for one, the first Sunday after New Year's is the number one day where people go to online dating sites and decide that they're going to have relationships. I thought that was really funny. Of all days, it was actually Orthodox Christmas yesterday. For those of you who celebrate, my family, we celebrate both because my father is Orthodox and my mother is not. So I've had 2 Christmases, 2 New Year's, 2 Easters, 2 this, 2 that my whole life. How's it get any better than that and more fun, right? Yes, so isn't it a great time to, for those of you who are in the mood for letting go of the old and getting in the new, what a great time of year for that, right? And as we're letting go of the old and welcoming the new, how about if we invite our genitals to be our homing beacons for truth and joy and fun? And I don't remember when it was, but I know in the last 165 episodes somewhere, I actually did a show about your pussy being like super smart and super wise and your pussy having wisdom and follow her. She's like a truth beacon. Somewhere in the last 3 years I did that. And it was a super fun show. This one's similar, but it's going to be a little different because you know what? I realized that a friend of mine who's been coming to me for sessions for like 7 years now, she said, I listen to your shows, but there's like 160 of them. I don't know how to, where do I start? And for people who haven't been listening to them the whole way through, where do you start? So some of these shows, I've also got new awarenesses. So I'm going to probably have some topics that I might have touched on before, but now just, have a different point of view or more information to share. So today is kind of like one of those days, and becoming friends with your genitals is actually inspired by the book From Pussy, a Reclamation. So for those of you who haven't heard of this, absolutely phenomenal book, my friend Christine McIver, who is also the CEO of Inspired Choices, gifted me this book a year ago for Christmas. Maybe it's been 2 years. No, it's been a year. By Regina Thomas Hauer. I think I'm saying her name right. She calls herself Mama Gina, and she has something called, she's the founder of Mama Gina's School of Womanly Arts. And so I actually put this book, I read like a chapter a year ago when Christine gave it to me, and I was like, hey, that's cool. I'm going to put it on my night table along with 5 other books that I read randomly. And lately this book has been yelling at me to give it attention. And what I really love about it is I'll get this awareness and then I'll go read the book, and the book is confirming my awarenesses, which is so freaking fun. I just really love that it's actually this weekend, the other day, I was doing sessions with people, and there was something that came up for me as an awareness, and today I'm, sitting down reading some pussy before I get on the show, and there she is confirming what I was getting an awareness on. That was very fun. Thank you, Mama Gina, for putting this compilation of amazingness together, because yes, it is an amazing, as Rhonda says, it's an amazing reference. I think every woman should have one, and if you and every woman who has a, female child in their life, or buy it for your children, buy it for your children, because if this book isn't in print in 25 years and it's only available online, it's just a really nice thing to even be able to touch. So a challenge. Oh, we have somebody on the line by the sounds of it. I can hear them making noises. So for those of you who haven't enjoyed pussy in your life, like your own, this is a great book to give you some tools and guidance on that. I'm a huge fan of hers already, and I'm super looking forward to meet her sometime in this lifetime. So what are we going to talk about today? So the topic was actually inspired by one of the chapters I was reading about a week ago. And one of the things that she was talking about were the 5 stages of pussy. And I thought, well, this is fascinating, and what do I know about this, and what do I have to say about this? So one of the things that Mama Gina talks about is that in her experience, she says that a woman's reacquaintance with her pussy breaks out into 5 very distinct stages. And those 5 distinct stages she talks about is stage 1, where you have complete and total revulsion. And actually, I'm going to talk to that and speak to that a little bit, because I have to say that even as a child, I masturbated from like the age of 4, and I've said this so many times on this show, because I know so many people who haven't, or if they have, they didn't want to admit it. And if you have children and they are masturbating, there's nothing wrong with your children. Your child has genitals. They're curious. I actually know somebody who thought that they should take their child to the doctor because the doctor picks their nose, because their child picks their nose. I was like, your kid picks their nose because they have a nose and they're curious. And, kids stick their fingers in things. And I thought, geez, if you're driving on the 401, which is the major highway in Toronto, and if you look it up, it's one of the busiest highways in North America, you will find that on any given day, there are multiple adults picking their noses and snacking on it. It is just a freaking fact of what you see. People, not only do they pick their nose, some people snack on it, and people will touch their genitals, guys. This is not a freaking problem. So if your kids are touching their genitals and you think they're a little young for it, you're incorrect. Babies are pretty much born curious, touching their own genitals until somebody tells them no or stops them from doing it. So looking at my own life and looking at where I went from being curious about my own body to what was it that started me to have a revulsion towards my own body, or even disdain in some ways, and lack of trust. I actually started to have a lack of trust with my own genitals, which created havoc for me. And I lost communication completely with pussy. It was like not going to happen, and I also didn't trust. I didn't trust the information I was getting. And a lot of people talk about intuition coming from your mind or your whatever, and I joke about this often. In Access Consciousness, there are 3 types of kind of characteristics people talk about: head trippers, people who think a lot, heart trippers, and crotch trippers. And I definitely identify myself as a crotch tripper, in such that I do run my life from my crotch. My crotch tells me certain things, I follow that. And it's funny because Mama Gina talks about how a woman's knowing and her intuition actually resides in her crotch. And for me, my pussy will actually have a reaction, be like super happy, excited, and have like the contractions, like orgasmic contractions, and responses and like elevated joy levels in my crotch, just when I actually am aware that something is like really exciting or gonna, make my life more fun and more easy and more just like scrumptious, right? So for me, this is like such a tangible reaction in my body, and that for a while wasn't always the case, because like I said, there was some part of me that departed from that for for a number of years. And where did that start and when did that, so there's a lot going on there. So what I'm wondering for you guys, for your own exploration, is if you don't feel a connection to pussy. And guys, you know what? This applies to you because so many men have had their testicles literally, they've just went, yep, castrate me. They've like given up their testicles in the same way that women have given up their knowing in their pussy. And I'm telling you guys and gals, your genitals know stuff. That's why I didn't name this becoming friends with your pussy. I know far too many men who also have lost trust in their knowing, and they've lost trust in their manliness, and they've lost trust in their manhood, and they've lost trust in the potency and sexiness of their own genitals, and that saddens me. And actually, watching the Golden Globes last night, as much as I'm all for empowerment, I'm also not for bashing. And I felt like, man, watching the Golden Globes last night, there was a bunch of underlying bashing going on that really, really hurt. Like, I was so freaking mad about that. And yeah, hacking, exactly. It was not fun. It was, yeah, and I feel like I'm going to vomit talking about it too. So whoever K-hacking is, welcome. And I also feel like I was about to be hacking, so it's really funny that the comments in that chat room match that. It was sort of, for me, watching these women who were supporting each other was beautiful, but in so many ways it was also like ripping off men's testicles. And once in a while, one of the women on the Golden Globes would say, and thank you, men, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not interested in separation. I'm not interested in separating men and women, and I'm not interested in separating men from their testicles or women from their pussies. That's not my game. That's not what I want to play. And what I want to play is the game where we actually have reverence, and we have admiration, and we have this sort of what's the word for it? It's like when it's really like an admiration of not only each other's bodies, but each other's qualities, each other's talents and capacities, and how fun is it to actually admire somebody's genitals. So if you have had the experience where you have total revulsion, you might not have had the experience of having your body totally revered, or admired, or somebody just in awe. It's like when back in the day, when you look at different religions in the world, you look at Hinduism, for example, they have temples that are shaped like penises. They have, so those would be like Shiva lingams, and they have yonis, and they have rituals based on all of these, the magnificence of genitals and the beauty in the genitals. What I'm wondering is, where have we stopped admiring our bodies, and where have we created separation as if man and woman are sort of separate? The whole hilarity to me about genitals in general is that, basically if I got my vagina and flipped it inside out, I would have a penis, and I would have a really stellar penis, I'll tell you that much. I know it would be stunning, gorgeous. Women and men would line up for it. I know that. And it's funny because I can acknowledge that if I had a penis, I would have that. And somewhere in my life, I went, but I have a vagina, so I don't have that. And that is where I am interested in changing. Even though a lot of that has changed for me, that's what I'm interested in changing. So this target for me this year is to be stepping into and thoroughly enjoying the capacities of my body as a sexual healer, and to thoroughly be enjoying my knowing that I have about bodies and sensuality and enjoyment and pleasure and willingness to receive that. I'm so excited. I'm actually so excited for this upcoming year. I have so many things I'm I'm looking at bringing force into the world. And I will talk about those a little bit at the end of the show. And if you'd like, you can join my newsletter. I'll be sending something out so you can add yourself to the naughty list, which is, I'm so excited for the naughty list. I just really wanted to have a bunch of things in place to send out a naughty email, super naughty email. So we're actually going to head to break. I'm going to talk more when we come back from break about how to become friends with your genitals after this break.
Many of us have created a lot of limitations around sex and what we are willing to choose. What else is possible beyond what we have already seen, heard, or thought of? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual revolution, taking the taboo out of all aspects of sex, sexuality, and copulation by tuning in to the Pleasure Zone radio show with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. You'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is the Pleasure Zone with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. Call 815-880-8255. That's TALK. Or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email at milicajelenic.com. Now back to the program.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. We're here tonight talking about becoming friends with our genitals. That's ladies and gentlemen, too. You know why? Because so many of us have actually sort of decided somewhere along the way that our genitals were not good enough. They were ugly. They were black. They were gross. They were stinky. They were weird. They were so many things that we could say to our genitals that, you know, if it was something we observed, like Dr. Emoto's water crystals, we would realize how much freaking shit we're putting into our bodies. You know, it's a wonder that there may be like a rise in genital cancers, in ovarian, in cervical, in vaginal cancers. We're knocking the crap out of our genitals as if they're so freaking nasty and bad. I'd really like to change that on the planet. That is a huge target I have for people to stop that. And I have that for me because I've had that, and I had that in my life for so long, and it's really only until fairly recently in my life that I allowed my body to be, and I allowed my genitals to be, revered and respected and admired and seen as a thing of beauty. It's like a new thing, and I could see it myself, and that is really, like, that for me was a real like a wow experience. It wasn't a one-time thing. It's something that is like been a practice for me. it's been interesting. So I went from so I won't get too much into my story other than in my life. I know that there were times where I was told like my behavior with masturbation, if I was getting caught at a young age, was, that what I was doing was wrong. It was, you shouldn't be doing that or whatever, or now you smell or whatever. There was always something. I used to like masturbate with pillows a lot, and I think I know that my room had a certain different smell about it. It smelled like me. And when I was a kid, I loved that smell. I was like, smells like me in here. Until the day that my mom actually went and got my pillow. And my mom's a pretty aware woman, but for some things she just like had no awareness. So masturbation with pillows was like super fun for me. And so my pillows on my bed smelled like my pussy because they did. And so my mom would go like, "Why does your room stink?" And I'm like 7 or 8 years old at this point, thinking my room smells pretty fucking good to me. I like it actually. And then I remember my mom grabbing my pillow and going, "Smell this." And I'm like, I'm smelling it, thinking I like this. She's like, "That's disgusting. What the hell are you doing to your pillows?" And I'm thinking, oh fuck. And I got so ashamed. And I felt so dirty. And it was like, so guys, if your kids are like masturbating with pillows and they like the smell of it, just freaking let them. and we make these things wrong. And I get that was my mom's experience, and shit had been put on her for sure. So I'm not like placing the blame. It's just that I have an awareness that is one of that was one of the places where I started looking at that and going, "Oh, that stinks." I thought I liked it, but I was wrong, because what I like is not, that can't be true. Like, I gave up my knowing right there. I gave up my knowing, and I gave up some part of where I connected with pussy when I was little. I was like, that was my superpower for sure. And I was like, I would take on the world. I was fearless. And what's really cool, there's this fearlessness, when you don't take away your kids' superpowers with their sensualness. It's amazing, in their sexualness. It's amazing what they will show up as and what they will be. A little girl that I was a nanny for, she was amazing. One of my favorite stories about her it's actually a pussy story. And she was on the school bus, and these kids were teasing the crap out of her, like always teasing her. One day she just stood up for herself. My daughter punched somebody in the face, which was pretty cool too. I was quite proud of her, because this kid was harassing her for a long time, and he's older. And I was like, we celebrated after that. That was a few weeks ago. But this little girl did not punch anybody in the face. She stood up in the middle of the bus, and she's in kindergarten at the time, stands there proudly and announces in the loudest voice she has, and she said, and the kids are like teasing her and blah blah blah, and she said, "Oh yeah? Well, my mommy has a hairy vagina." And it shocked the shit out of the whole bus. Everybody was silenced, and nobody picked on her again. And I was like, damn, the power of the pussy, man. This kid knew it. This kid embraced it, and she utilized it as a weapon, man. She was awesome. And how many of us don't know that? And, for the longest time after, I was like, oh yeah, my mommy's got a hairy vagina. And I would think about it, and I was like, man, that kid's onto something. Like, she stopped a bus full of bullies with that one line, because that whole energy was so intimidating to those little fuckers who were picking on her. Just freaking love it. So, when in doubt, your mommy has a hairy vagina. Well, it's actually a vulva, but she called it her vagina, so we'll just go with that. So cute. So, let's move away from everywhere that we've ever been revolted by our genitals in any way, or made them wrong, or stop trusting them, or stop trusting their knowing, because they know everything. It's funny because we talk about men being guided by their little head, and their little mind is in their pants. Well, guess what? We have a little mind in our pants too, or under our skirts or in our non-panties that we might choose to wear or not wear. And we've got a littler head with way more nerves going to it than any penis has. So I'm just thinking the nervous system in our body is actually connected to our brain. You know that our brain is part of that nervous system, right? And the funny thing is we refer to smart as something that sits in our brain. Well, that's sitting in our nervous system. And so by my logic, women have far smarter genitals than any man's genitals. Just kidding. I'm not trying to create separation. But hey, ladies, if men can listen to the Johnson in their pants, ladies, can we listen to the Jane in our pants? Because there's something going on there that we've been ignoring for a really long time. There's a lot of information that travels through your nervous system, and with 8,000 nerve endings in your clitoris, there is a lot of information in there. And apparently there's information being called into my home right now, because everybody loves calling during my show. I could tell them for years, guess what? I have a show. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we're going to move away from the revulsion, because how do you get over the revulsion? So there are some things that you can choose to do, and one of them is to start loving it. And some people are like, yeah, well, I can't love it if I hate it. And that's true. So now that's true for you. So now the trick is, and the tool could be that you can use tools like some tools from Access Consciousness. You can POC and POD, that's point of creation, point of destruction, any points of view that you have about your genitals being revolting or disgusting, and just look at them and POC and POD all your points of view about that. So, yeah, it can be really tricky to love what you hate. So, and you can change it. And so the tools to change it: look at all your points of view you have. First of all, find out if they're yours, right? So like with me, I'm aware that those points of view about smell, none of them were mine, because I know in my heart and from childhood, I know that I loved the smell of my own body. Loved it, would relish in it, would wipe it on my own self. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And so now it's now I get curious about the smell, and so I'm more in a curious phase, and there's not that revolting going on. So, and I moved from that through allowing my genitals to be adored, and then adoring them as well, finding some part of it that I adore, and POC and PODing my points of view about all the senses, the smells, the taste, all of that, which I did in an episode, I think, in 2015 in September called, what did I call it? Fun for One. And I did a guided masturbation and took you through all the different things, like the different smells and scents and all your sensations of your body, to get over your points of view about your body so that you could receive it more fully without any judgment. So that show is actually a really great tool that you can listen to, so that you can start to move away from the feeling revolted or hate or disgust of your genitals. Guys and girls, it'll work for all. So how do we move away from that and move into something even more fun, right? How do we move into curiosity? So Mama Gina calls it picking up the mantle of the scientific researcher. That's where you start to get curious, and you might actually look at your own genitals without being grossed out, right? What a concept! And I was working on somebody the other day, and I had this awareness that they had actually rejected their genitals for the majority of their life, and it had created what was like a lifelong depression. So my question too is, if you do experience depression in any way, I'm wondering how much of it is depression and how much of it is actually sexual oppression that you've take on, and sexual repression. There's a little question to ponder while we head to this commercial break. And when we come back, we'll explore more on that.
Many of us have created a lot of limitations around sex and what we are willing to choose. What else is possible beyond what we have already seen, heard, or thought of? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual revolution, taking the taboo out of all aspects of sex, sexuality, and copulation by tuning in to the Pleasure Zone radio show with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. You'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What if there's nothing wrong with you? What if you're far greater than you've ever given yourself credit for? What if it's time to know the gift and the contribution you are to the world and to like yourself a lot more? Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago, I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. Asking questions opens doors to infinite possibilities. And it's not about finding the answer. It's about being the question. Always. What I'm inviting you to step into is something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Newton, Da Vinci, Gandhi, Picasso, and Aristotle all knew to be true. What if no question is too big or too small? What if anything is possible for you? What if together we could create a kinder, gentler, happier world? Is now the time? Go to beingyouclass.com and sign up for a free video series, My Gift to You. beingyouclass.com. What if you, truly being you, are the gift and change this world requires? beingyouclass.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. Call 815-880-8255. That's TALK. Or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email at milicajelenic.com. Now back to the program.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. I'm your host, Milica Jelenic, and tonight we're talking about becoming friends with our genitals. So the first step was actually to get away from that place of revulsion or not trusting, and the willingness, and the curiosity to start to actually look at it without disgust. So explore your genitals without feeling disgusted. Mama Gina talks about it at picking up the mantle of the scientific researcher. So the curiosity, the exploration, all of those are so key. And this is like actually a very natural sort of way that things transpire. As I look at it from my own life, this has been a way that things have naturally transpired in my life. So I really like that she's created these stages, because I see, I can totally see how they've related to me in my life as well. So the researcher and the curiosity. So as I began to get rid of those points of view that I had about my genitals, and I started to have more fun with them and became more curious, right? And now I can actually look at my pussy. I can look at another woman's pussy, and I can smell another woman's pussy. I can lick another woman's pussy if I wanted to, and none of that grosses me out. So the funny thing is, so I was talking to a friend of mine about how when I was working on someone the other day, and so I wrote a question on social media as well. What if your willingness to be turned on is the greatest gift you can be or gift? And I asked that question because what was occurring is I realized that so many times my body thinks its main target is turn somebody or something on. I've got a point of view, or my body's got this experience where it's repeatedly thought its job was to turn things on. be a fix-it agent because that's what I do. I'm trained in body work, so I do fix-it agent work. And I had this really cool awareness, and I had one of the most fun sessions. For me, actually, it was fun for me in that I gained so much awareness. So what I became aware of is, and I've had really fun sessions in other ways before too, but this one in particular was that it gave me a piece of information that I'd been missing. So in that way, I think it was really fun. And the information was that as I was working on this person who has been depressed most of their life, my curiosity was what, and that question about depression versus repression, sexual repression, sexual oppression, what energies are you holding back? Because our generative energies that keep us alive and keep us excited and keep us rocking and rolling and breathing are those sexualness, and it keeps us like thriving. So when we start to pull back on that, how much does that create all that depression and stuff? So, and we talked a little bit about that with Dr. Ron on an episode that I had with him, Dr. Ron Janer. We talked about anhedonia and the inability to feel pleasure. This one, for me, is really about where we can start to acknowledge where we weren't willing to have pleasure or be pleasure seekers. Start to seek it. Start to be the scientific researcher, pleasure seeker, and where. So when I was working on this person, I was like asking the question, like, what contribution can I be to this body? So often that's my question is what gift and what contribution can I be to this body? And then I ask that kind of to myself, and then I go from there. And the awareness that I had for this person who'd experienced so-called depression that I was referring to more like repression, was my awareness was let yourself be turned on. Let your body be turned on. That was like the kind of instructional information I was being gifted. It's like, what if you let yourself be turned on? What if you let yourself just, be orgasmic? Just do it. What would that be like? So I allowed my body to be turned on by their body. And it was funny because I did discuss it with the person after. I said, just letting you know, this is the energy that was coming up and blah, blah, blah. And the person acknowledged it, and they were like, yeah, I sense that. I'm like, cool, because you get that your body has been longing to feel sexy and to feel like it can turn other bodies on, and your body can do that. It's that, maybe you haven't chosen the people who are willing to be turned on by you. So I was like, wow, that is a really interesting thing that I'm willing to be. I was really curious. I kind of patted myself on the back for that one. I'm like, wow, that's really cool that I'm actually willing to be turned on by pretty much anybody. And so then I experimented on that with the next person who came in. And it was funny because the next person was a woman, and and when my body was like asking questions, what gift can I be? Like when I asked the question of my body, what gift can I be to you, and what contribution can I be to you with my body? I didn't get the same response, and I was like, okay, well, what if I just get turned on anyway? And that energy was not present; it wasn't there. So it's not something that's like every single time. I suppose it's like when the body is willing to or desiring to be received in that way. I thought, wow, that's really cool that I'm willing to do that. It was like a kind of like wow moment for me. And so that exploration and curiosity can give so much, and it can change so much. So have fun with your research and your questions and your curiosity for sure. And then even becoming more curious, your natural curiosity, seeking out all kinds of different ways to, bring out all the things that turn you on, right? Things that you might not have known about, things that you didn't know about your body. Maybe, as much as you might not have explored your pussy, ladies, and you might, guys, not have explored your we'll just refer to it as the cock as the whole area for now, and cock and balls, I don't know, whatever. So if you haven't explored those on your own body, then, so explore those. And what other parts of your body have you not explored? So I highly encourage you to explore your whole body and admire your whole body and have fun with that. And so it was funny because I sent this person off with homework to masturbate. Masturbate in a certain way, actually. It was very particular. Now, it was actually more about masturbation with a smile on. So for those of you, if you kind of look at this, like how many of you actually smile during sex? How many of you like copulating? And how many of you smile during masturbation? So what I did learn, and I had this conversation with Dr. Ron about depression, and he was talking about a fellow doctor that he knows who did research, and the research indicated that the people who smiled for 20 minutes, they didn't have to have a reason to smile. It was just a practice of a muscle in their body to smile for 20 minutes without interference and interruption could literally change depression to the point where they don't require medication. And the results were huge. I don't remember the percentage, but the results were super high and people weren't being depressed. So how much can we add pleasure and smiling to the repertoire of masturbation, where sometimes masturbation is just the key goal? I feel sexually frustrated. I need to let this energy out. Well, what if there can be a greater connection to your body with this? And smile, guys. I challenge you to smile while masturbating. I don't know if you have, and I'm wondering what that will change for dopamine levels, for all the different chemical reactions in your body, for joy levels. I wonder if the orgasms will change. So have fun with that. So stage 4, Mama Gina talks about becoming an aficionado. Well, she particularly calls it becoming a pussy aficionado. So I'm going to call it becoming a genital aficionado. So in this way, it's like you literally take pride in all of your body. Your body, and you'll take pride in your genitals. So, she's talking about landscaping, the shape, the potential that comes with having your genitals. So for women, it's like the potential for having how lucky are we to have clitorises? When you look at so many places in the world where women have had clitoridectomies, and that's 8,000 nerve endings. I just like that churns my stomach. So what kindness can we be to bodies? That's my main question there. And also, so be friends with your genitals, guys. Be friends with your clitorises, ladies. They are the creators of orgasm. They are the creators of joy. And if we really truly did start having conversations and becoming friends, just like when you become friends with anything, you start to have conversations with it, I would think, in some way. You can't really text your genitals that I'm aware of. Maybe you can. Maybe you can create a little app where every day you have conversations with Pussy. Hi, Pussy. How are you doing? Because people really love, apps and phones these days. One of Mama Gina's recommendations actually was to get a pussy puppet, and I'm all for that. Frick, pussies, masturbation, pussy talk, and puppets all in one. I think they're talking my language there. That's pretty freaking awesome. Have not ordered my pussy puppet yet, but let me tell you, I will be, because that's just so freaking cool. Can't believe I don't have one. So we will talk. So yes, becoming that pussy aficionado, and so looking at all those places where you actually realize that your genitals have their own life. Your pussy knows stuff, guys. Your penis knows stuff, and it's got wisdom. It's got knowing. It can lead you in different directions. Are you willing to have fun with it and experiment with that and play with it and see where it takes you, see where it guides you? Maybe it takes you into new jobs, new careers, new relationships, new fun, new money adventures, all kinds of things. Pussy knows. Your cock knows stuff. You gotta let it know stuff. and follow that knowing. Don't cut your knowing off. For every time you've done that, you might as well have just turned into a eunuch and forget that you've even had genitals that are enjoyable. Right? Yeah. So we're going to head off to a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up all the other parts of this conversation and becoming friends with our genitals after this break.
Many of us have created a lot of limitations around sex and what we are willing to choose. What else is possible beyond what we have already seen, heard, or thought of? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual revolution, taking the taboo out of all aspects of sex, sexuality, and copulation by tuning in to the Pleasure Zone radio show with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. You'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. Call 815-880-8255. That's TALK. Or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email at milicajelenic.com. Now back to the program.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. I'm your host, Milica Jelenic, and tonight we are becoming friends with our genitals. A lot of the references I'm using are from Pussy, a Reclamation by Regina Thomas-Hauer, so you can check out her book. She's great. She also has it on audio. So before break, we were talking about stage 4 when you become an aficionado of your genitals. So what she says in her book is that you become a pussy aficionado. So from her perspective, I'll just read this. A pussy connoisseur, if you will, she begins to take great pride in the landscape, the architecture, the potential that comes with owning a clitoral pleasure center such as hers. She realizes that a woman who owns her pussy owns her life. Her relationship to herself changes dramatically. Her confidence soars in ways she could not have imagined or anticipated. And I'm fully aware that also for men who have disconnected from the wisdom of their penis. You know, your penis has wisdom too, guys, and you also have probably disconnected from it in a lot of ways, as in, you know, you might be also choosing partners that don't work for you or who, you know, are maybe unkind, not very generous, that sort of thing. Like, you might be choosing partners that are not the most fun for your penis, but you know, if your penis is kind of in the land of, I would just really like to be felt and touched and seen, it might just choose partners that it doesn't like. Yeah, so how about we be friends with all genitals again? And ladies, talk to your pussy, because she knows stuff. And the more you actually allow yourself to trust your inner knowing, and Mama Gina calls it your GPS, the greater pussy in the sky. If the more you trust that, and then the more you own your own life. So how many people have given up their lives, literally their whole life, in favor of somebody else because they stopped trusting their own their own pussy, their own penis, like their own balls. Like, guys, I know too many men who have basically given up their whole sensualness, sexualness, their knowing, in favor of their partner who, for whatever reason they might go, just in favor of maybe getting pussy at some point. They gave up their balls in order to try and get some love or some action. Guys have just as much stuff going on as women do with this. I just haven't really, if anybody's aware of a book for men that's like Pussy is for Women, I'd love to know about it. And I'd love to talk to some men about that too, because I know there are an awful lot of men out there who are going through stuff as well. So rapture is the 5th stage, which I have a couple minutes to talk about. Rapture. Now, I personally don't feel that I am living in rapture, so I can't speak to it from experience, where I feel like I'm kind of waver between stage 3 and 4 a lot of the time. And rapture for me, I'm curious about, and that's something that I would like to step more into. It's where Mama Gina refers to it as the way Gustave Courbet felt when he painted L'Origine du Monde, and apparently we can look that up, or the way Nicolene Thomas felt when she painted The Origin of the Universe. So what Mama Gina says is that a lot of these people have a sense of awe in their life after these things they've created, or they connect to the power of being the portal to life itself. And so that for me, and the gratitude and astonishment and that feeling of being privileged to have the body and the genitals particularly that we have, how lucky are we? And the gratitude, like, I, especially after having my daughter, became so incredibly grateful that I could birth a being out of my genitals. Like, what an experience, and what an intense, phenomenal experience it is to give birth. I gave birth vaginally, so my experience was that. And I don't know the experience of women who have had cesarean, so I don't know what that would be like, because I haven't had that in this life. But for me, it's like having that is a lot. That is a lot of pressure, and that is the biggest thing I've ever had in my pussy, I'll tell you that. And so quite an experience too. So there is such power, and I am quite in awe of it in so many ways, actually. Just in awe of the fact that we can create bodies in our bodies. That's just mind-blowing in itself in so many ways. I get there's science behind it, and it's still freaking mind-blowing. And that we can have these reactions in our body that are orgasmic, that we can either contain to a small area of our genitals, or we can let it flow through our whole bodies, and we can have them last for 10 seconds, or we can choose to expand them to last for like hours and live in rapture. Like, amazing. That is an amazing experience. I don't know how many other creatures on the planet can say that they actually study pleasure the way that we as human beings have that. Or perhaps for them there is not pain in the same way that we have pain with attachment and loss. We don't have that emotional pain where maybe animals have like physical reaction to pain, like getting physically hurt or something, but they might not have the same reaction with loss. They might have something else, but I don't know that we can attach human feeling to other creatures so much as they have them, but maybe our language isn't suited to explain their experience like ours is for us. So even though ours is lacking as well, but that's a whole other day.
Thank you for choosing to listen to The Pleasure Zone. Milica Jelenic will return next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.